So I made myself this morning lime, fresh ginger, and coconut cookie. And yeah, it was super bland and really boring. Needs more ginger. Needs more salt, even though I use salted butter. And I also cut the flour with a mixture of rice flour and oat flour, which I like using. But I decided to be like, let's get adventurous. Let's cut even more of the flour out with my little oats and rice flour. It's such a bad idea. There's a whole lime in here, man. I still can't taste it. I even put the zest in too. Anyways, welcome back. You guys ready to work? Talk about my cookie making war stories, huh? Talking about war. This book's Boots on the Ground, Month with 82nd Airborne in Battle for Iraq. I was there during the same exact time this author wrote this book, except I was just in different sections. Still there at the same exact time. In 2002, 3, 2, 3. It has to be 3. This moment is 20 years old, I think. So like some of my memory of it is good, but the specifics, I'm like, Samoa, yeah, I was there, but I just don't remember when. It's like I was in a support platoon. We were nuclear, biological, chemical soldiers, and so we had to be dispatched with the infantry as they go in and did their job to help if anybody got slimed. And so they would send up 4 squads, like 6, 7 soldiers. There was 3 squads to a platoon, so we would always swap out a squad every week to go up front to the front. But I was swapped between the 3 squads of my platoon, so I was always up front. I never got a break because I had the most experience with combat. But it wasn't even combat, it was literally me getting like shot at or blown up next to or whatever. It wasn't any like heroic stuff. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So anyways, I spent a lot more time on the front than anybody else, so I was always moving around in all these cities, like always doing something different, but it was to refuel the infantry because we had a smaller fueling truck. See, so this was my job in the army. These protective masks. I had to maintain and build them and all kinds of stuff, and also horrible job in training other soldiers how to decon themselves and swap out gear and all that stuff. What is this? Oh, they're actually pulling off a helicopter off of the C-130. I never saw that before. This is that's amazing. Actually, I'm just used to like jumping out of these or pushing like square crap of supplies out, or a Humvee once. That was that was chucked out, and then we all followed. But I've never seen a helicopter. Damn. In this next chapter, it's called Time to Fight, and it was on my birthday in Kuwait during the time he was speaking here, and he's saying March 20th. Mine was a few days afterwards. When the troops first arrived there, there are a constant rumble of trucks, forklifts, 6-wheeler gators. From a very low overhead comes a continuous roar of airplanes and helicopters, mostly large military cargo planes, ferrying in a mountain of supplies to provisions and an army of 250,000 souls. No one wants to talk about the large amount of commercial airplanes used to bring those 250,000 souls in. There is lawn mowing buzz of the C-130s, 4 giant propellers, and a hush jet swish of the intermediate size and the high-tech C-17s. I flew a C-17 home. Few module buildings contained the post's only running water, a limited number of shaving sinks, and some welcome warm showers. Yep. So I we had to like makeshift our showers using like 5-gallon water jugs and like hoses, just because this lovely area was wasn't built yet. There was a rudimentary sick tent, morale and welfare and recreations tent equipped with ping pong, weight sets. I had to fill sandbags and other distractions. Other distractions. We were not allowed to go this hang out and have good time tents. I was saying that my platoon sergeant liked to stay in control of everything that he did. So we were working the entire time. There was no messing around. There was this massive soft-walled mess tent where chow was served 8 hours per day. Yes, it was actually that was pretty cool. They had Nutella, the big giant tub. Yep, totally ate off that. Hardcore. Canvas Chapel. I don't know that existed either, and I wouldn't go, but whatever. It was there. It's kept it busy in services with Bible studies throughout each evening. Really, really, there was a surge of demand for baptisms. Chaplain built a hot tub. Wow, seriously? Sandbags. My gosh, dude. Put a plastic liner, filled it with water, and a goodly number of immersions. The place was a beehive of activity. Yeah, I was not around that. And I was happy to not be around that. Happy to be on guard duty that day and all the other days that I did not see this weird, freaky kiddie pool of adult soldiers being dunked into being like, you'll be saved, don't worry, clunk. No, that's so weird. Maybe it also felt good because it was super hot there, and getting dunked in water, that might have felt good. So maybe they were just using it as an excuse. I applaud them for that. Breathtakingly good singing takes place in the chapel services and the impromptu eventual jam sessions in the tents. This afternoon, another game that, or another type of entertainment that like people really got into was actually Dungeons and Dragons. With literally like tens of people, like 30, there's 30 guys freaking playing D&D all together. It got really intense. I wanted to like jump in and play, but I was the NPC guys, we weren't welcome. Yes, the dirt, sand gets everywhere. You cannot avoid it. Dirt, scented grit, lungs and nasal passages sting, wheeze and swell. Well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it's impossible to keep clean, but most of the soldiers bear it up like well troopers. Okay. And the old timers know it could be a lot worse. Back in 1991, which I had a guy who was in my platoon from the 1991 war. He had like a coughing fit, and it was because of bacteria that was back from that war. And then when he went home, it cleared from his system. But then when he came back to Iraq, it reignited those still dormant in his lungs, and he got all just extremely coughy. He'd cough so loud that my tent was just like, go outside and die. And the desert living conditions were miserable. There was no running water for months, no cooked food or shelter, no brief from the brutal summer heats. I mean, it was kind of the same when we went there. We had to build everything. I overheard a veteran of that deployment talk about going 2 or 3 months without proper wash or a hot meal. Yes, someone, yes, 2 months. Yes, the same thing happened, my man. This camp was vastly more humane than its predecessors. It really wasn't. As soon as we stepped outside, we didn't have any of these things. It was just like a staging point. 12 years later, and one of the major reasons is that the Army's new preference for private civilian contractors. Yes, I know, geez. Most of the non-military operations here in Camp Champion, rental and erection of tents, operation of mess facilities, food stuff, purchases, maintenance of showers and porta-johns, laundry, and the PX shop, garbage pickup, the run of private companies organized by lead contractor Kellogg, Brown Root, and division of Halliburton Company actually got in the way a lot. Where there was like, for example, there was a generator that ran off of like diesel, and this one guy would just walk up to it and look at it and make sure it was running, and then would leave. And then on because I would be on guard duty, so there'd be nothing else doing. And so then he mouthed off and said like, I get paid $250,000 just to look at this. Have a good day. And I'm like, like these companies use and abuse the United States government just to do the most littlest of things. Now counts hundreds of firms and specializes in military contracting, which has become a global of $200 billion annual business. See, at some point, the Pentagon discovered that letting a private sector handle the tasks instead of doing them with military manpower would not only save money, yep, but also result in a higher quality service. Yep. Legland. God, we're gonna have to get into this, don't we? Paratroopers are also pricks and call people who aren't paratroopers legs. So, and it's like a derogatory term, as in like you're not a real fighter like I am who jumps out of airplanes. You're just some ground troop who like pisses and shits on the ground. You know, like, it's so childish. As we stroll on a postal errand through an adjoining camp and the house's regular Army and National Guard troops, which those National Guard troops, they worked their butts off. They did some really cool stuff, by the way. Such camps are referred to as somewhat diversitively as legland. Yeah, see, here we go. And such soldiers as legs. An elite airborne soldier used to winging rather than walking their way into conflicts. Oh boy, okay, yep. Of course, intra-army rivalries are nothing compared to the competition with the other service branches. Yeah, we didn't make fun of the Marines. And I have a great story later on if we get into it to show the comparison between Army and Marine soldiers in Iraq. They are like the how the Army role models should be during being deployed. They're really put together. So versus like, for example, like I was to a compound where Army was overseeing, and we would just like wake up and just be like not caring about anything and just walking around, just being like, what do we do today? Just unorganized, a bunch of just like, I don't know, didn't really give a shit. And then the Marines showed up in their buses, and they all got out. There was no, like big like formal parade or anything, but they immediately got out, set up their stuff, made workout bars, and literally started doing their morning exercises in the compound, and just like running by us, like, what's up, man? How you doing? Like, good to see you, while just like the rest of us are just like dirty with our like, like helmets on, chin strap hanging, and just staring at them like, what going on? Why are they so put together? Have they not been here as long as us? And they have been. They were there the entire time. It was just such a difference. Like pig pen, dirty 82nd with just like the Marines come in and they're like, like squeaky clean, shaven, cut soldiers. Like, how's it going? We've been here the entire time, guys. This has been a blast, right? We're like, no, it sucks. This sucks. And they were like, no way. This infrared photo was taken from the dark inside of a Scud bunker during the nighttime missile attack. Yep. Soldiers wearing their gas masks and carrying chemical suits. In these days before the coalition forces burst north into Iraq, nearly a dozen ballistic missiles were launched towards the crowds in American camps in northern Kuwait. Every one of these Scud missiles that he's about to talk about, I too had to put on my gas mask and go underneath the Scud bunker thing. The conversations that happened between us while we were sitting there waiting for the Scuds to hit. It's pretty similar, except mine was just jokes about each other, and then our squad leader started to sing the song of the bodies hit the floor. That freaking song disturbs me. But he would draw the song out, and then we would just sit there and watch him because it was the funniest thing in the world. He'd be singing the song with his protective mask on. He's like, it was just like you would just sit there and stare at this mess of words, and then he would finish off by this long drawn out blah noise, as in hit the floor, and we just sat there for 2 minutes staring at him, and then we all just started bursting out laughing because it was the funniest thing in that moment in time. And the most stupidest thing. And he was so cheesy. That was just his thing that he would do. And we would all laugh. And it was a good moment, good memory. Because he always meant well. He always wanted to include us in his craziness because he would think that it would liven our spirits. So he would do it. He's a very great guy. But such a cringy nerd too. It's great. One of Saddam's missiles had landed in the U.S. camp, where the military personnel are densely packed in open tents. Yes, I was there. 4 of them were shot at us. 2 of them were knocked down. 2 of them hit, and one was outside of our tent, which made a little thud, and then there was a bigger thud. And we were all like, whoa, that was close. Whoa, right, But then we found out that it actually hit the medical tent, and then all of our smiling, snickering faces all, uh, got serious. However, the total 7 alerts wired us to throw on our protective gear and pour into the bunkers. This was also another moment in time where everybody disliked the nuclear, biological, chemical soldiers until moments like this happened. And then we became our just the act of fear in people's eyes and their voices. And they just wanted to be protected and saved. And we're just scratching at our doorstep, just please, what do I do with this? And they would pull out their mask and it'd be all in pieces. They're just and it's just it's okay. Okay, let me see that. I'll fix it for you. Your mask is totally fine. All your pieces are here. It takes me 5 minutes. I'll put it together for you. That happened a lot. And then I also had to give out I gave out the worst teaching exercises on if you get slimed on your skin, you take out these charcoal packets. They're kind of this size, and you basically tap your skin with charcoal. And I had hundreds of soldiers lined up. I'm just mumbling to myself, trying to go through the exercise, and I would keep looking up, and they would just look at me like I was some dumb child trying to speak, and they're like, "You're doing good, little Billy. You're doing real good. Keep going." Anyways, I had a lot of those little moments. And then we went back to being the most disliked group in the 82nd when we started to drive back up, because nobody wants to hang out with the chemical soldiers because you're forced to wear your protective mask. So, or do some protective mask training, or uh, or be around non-soldiers, as we were like labels. Any soldier that wasn't that wasn't a fighting soldier, like infantry, they felt we were just getting in the way. Unfortunately, I did bump into a lot of soldiers who were just like, they went directly from a year or more worth fighting in Afghanistan right to Iraq. So different than the rest of us, like just casually walking around while like we're all like white knuckled, gripping our weapons, looking at the littlest things that moved, and they're just like, we're not even in Iraq yet, guys. It's okay. As they like casually chill out and walk around because they've been in war for quite some time and understand the difference between phasing up to it and being in it. These are central daily events for sharing intelligence and planning missions, and have always previously been closed off, but any but officers with secret clearances. I went into one because we were chasing supposedly missiles that had nuclear warheads on them in past Baghdad, and they were driving further north. So our mission during the paratrooping into Baghdad was to jump in, break into these fire stations, steal their uh, their trucks to transport water for something, and then chase down these rockets. And I totally forget why we were taking the fire trucks, but we needed them. The people who were stealing the trucks, like the most capable of our platoon, had to go to this meeting. It was like me and 5 other guys, and it was just like one guy was a police officer who kind of knew how to like work fire truck parts. I had the most combat experience and the best shot in the group. I drove these giant fueling trucks, like the size of what these huge trucks were driving these nuclear supposedly missiles up past Baghdad to the north. And I was just like, someone's like, literally my sergeant, she was all like, yeah, you know, he knows how, Chris does. And I'm just like, yeah, I do. Of course I do. I'm all like, what are you doing? She's just like, it's the same exact size. I'm like, they're different makes and models. Fine, yes. So, anyways, I still don't remember why we were stealing those fire trucks. So we were stealing them for their water to be used for something, and then we were going to chase down missiles. It's crazy. The trickling casualty reports and the obnoxious threats continuing to flow from Baghdad only leave the soldiers around me testy and itchy for action. These troopers don't want to be left behind as combat operations. They desperately want to carry out the part that they've trained for so hard for. Actually, none of us knew what was really going on. We were just like reacting from one moment to the next, like, okay, do this now. Okay, do that now. Okay, do. It wasn't like, I've been training for this, I'm ready. No. During this time, mine was all about capturing POWs and training as if I was one, so that the group of military police that was attached to my tent could practice on takedowns and stuff. Or we would try to like steal their guns out of their holsters, and all kinds of fun little ways to like think about, you know, little things that the MPs weren't thinking of when they were trying to like tackle somebody and zip tie them up. I almost got out some guy's handgun, except he totally like backhanded me and then crushed his knee into my back and crushed the air out of my lungs. So I didn't do that again. Yeah, it's skipping a large chunk of things that happened with the 82nd. We went from a mock test trial of filling up all of us, sticking us into aircraft to see if we could jump into Baghdad, but the Rangers said no because they dug a bunch of holes and put up a bunch of spikes in the landing field, and then supposedly ordered in a lot of high high-powered long-range snipers into the surrounding buildings around where we were supposedly going to jump into Baghdad too. So they were just like, just carpet bomb this entire zone. Just forget about jumping in. Don't try to act heroic or anything. It's a big waste of time. And it was, I knew because my commander would just come into our tent and just unload all this information to us. So he's just like, but so and so commander, it was just like, we're the 82nd, we're supposed to be paratrooping in, let's do our job. We want that. You get the kind of like medal for doing a combat jump in for reality. And they were all like itching for it, you know. We were 82nd was supposed to jump into do a combat paratrooping jump into mass attack into Baghdad's airport, but we didn't. We still did like a whole practice run or a practice mock-up getting into all the planes and everything else. But it's just like during that moment in time, we were attacked by Scud missiles, and so we were all loaded up in the planes, you know. And so getting our masks on and is with all of our gear, with like 90 other people in the plane with you, and we're all trying to push each other out of the plane and stuff to like run away. Um, that was a funny moment. Funny moment to be. That was a NBC, a nuclear, biological, chemical soldier. I was just to watch down anybody on the battlefield. If bad guys used bio warfare, which we were afraid of, if they were slimed on the battlefield, we were there to like clean them off, get them new gear, and kick them back out to go fight. So there were 2 NBC soldiers per aircraft with every infantry. And so when the scud alarm went off, we were inside the plane. It was one of those interesting moments again that I've learned while I was in Iraq, where the most toughest acting people are usually the most scared when something bad happens. And they were scared stiff, didn't know what to do. And I'm like in the back of the plane, I'm just like, put your mask on, put your friggin' mask on. And they're just like, I don't know what to do. And so it's just like, I literally grabbed the guy in front of me. He was like big, huge, like muscular dude, and grabbed his protective mask out of his carrier for him, and I shoved it on his face. I put your mask on your face and go forward. And then friggin' like everybody followed suit. We pushed ourselves out. We were like climbing over like mountains of like backpacks and stuff. It was crazy. And then after we all got outside, another funny moment happened where all the infantry are all huddled up together underneath kind of like the kind of like hangar bay section, and the Scuds alarm, it was done, we were safe, blah blah blah. And the most alpha men from our army were all around each other with like their protective masks off, being super emotional, asking each other like, are you okay, are you doing all right? And they're like literally almost like tearing up and like holding each other. Like, I thought I was gonna die. You should have seen like me and my small squad of soldiers. We finally like met up. We're all still wearing like our masks too. The small like six guys. And my sergeant, my platoon sergeant found us. He's like, oh good guys, you're here. You're here. And then we all stop. We all look at the mess around us. And then somebody goes like, what the hell's going on? And we were all calm and collected and just were just shocked by the infantry's reaction to possibly being blown up by a Scud missile. And it was the weirdest thing. And so like our platoon sergeant, he's just like, all right guys, you can see everybody's having a hard time here. All right, don't make fun of them. Just go around. Don't make fun of. Just go around, ask them how they're doing, check their protective gear, and get them all wearing their masks again. All right, do that for me. Go go go. And so it's just like we literally had to walk around and come up to like one guy, and he's still just very like frazzled. And then I'm just like, do you have your protective mask? He's like, yeah, it's right here. And I'm just like, can you put it on? And then he pulls it out and it's still brand new and it's like plastic baggied and it's like all in pieces. And he's like, I just don't know how to put it together. I'm like, it's totally fine, man. I'm glad I'm here to help you, you know. And so it was just those moments. Yeah, okay. Anyways, let's continue on. It was just one of those eye-opening experiences where when difficult moments happen, you could tell that a lot of people are wearing not just a protective mask, but a persona of being the alpha male, but in deep, they're soft and cozy and scared. And side-splitting stories about parachute jumps gone wrong. I don't understand. And I mean, like the worst parachute story that I had that gone wrong. It was a night jump. Me and my squad leader jumped out on opposite sides. Back of the plane, there's two doors. Here we go. Plane, leaving plane, two doors, leave, exit plane. We both went out at the same exact time when we're supposed to be doing this, where you interval do this out the plane so that you don't bump into each other like we did. But timing was wrong, wasn't our fault, jump master's fault. Anyways, we both went out at the same exact time. Our parachutes hit as they opened up and literally tangled up. So it was only one parachute carrying the both of us down, which it was fine, but we were cruising down. We were going really, really fast. And pretty much he landed first, nice and softly, but all the momentum was on me, and I was flying down. Like I cruised past him, and I literally like hit the ground, did a barrel roll a couple of times, rolled to a stop, and he came like running up, and he's just like, "Are you dead, Chris?" And I got up and I'm like, "I'm still alive. Oh my God, I'm still alive." And he's cheering, laughing, like, "Yeah, we're still alive." And yeah, so that was about my worst moment. And this was in like the middle of the freaking night. So it was like two soldiers screaming at the top of their lungs in the blackness of night. Paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne line up in the mess tent and the TV to Kuwait Assembly camp to watch Iraqi broadcast. Yeah, this is that same room. That evening, we off this same exact TV, we got to watch the first like missile fires go off. I was sitting somewhere, behind them. They gave us steak and shrimp night, and we were so happy to be eating such wonderful food for once. Also, a little bit weirded out, like why are we getting shrimp, lobster tail, and steak? And then it's like the guys looking at, they're just like, there's plenty more. Go get seconds, yay. And we're like, okay, awesome. And then after a while, then on the TV, the first missiles go off, and it's just like the war has started. And it's like, oh, they're giving us our last dinner. And then the joking kind of like quieted down for a bit as we ate in silence. When we pushed up into Iraq, I was towards the back, and the infantry was the front of this long convoy that swooped up the left side of Iraq up to Baghdad. And I was basically like, I'm just gonna, I can show you here. So, for example, Baghdad here. Let's say this entire book is Iraq, Baghdad. Army went up this side of Iraq to Baghdad. Marines and Navy and everybody else went up this side. So we just basically like pincer moved Baghdad. And that's been like the plan on the shelf forever. Each of the soldiers has drawn his 210 rounds for his M4 or M16, 45 rounds for his M9 pistol, and more than 800 cartridges of machine gunners. Lieutenant Colonel Yahil climbs back into the Humvee and gives a stern speech, telling the troops to put on a combat mentality. Where was I? Where was I during this? I didn't get no cool speech. We just got in our vehicles and drove. But you actually know, as we were leaving the Iraqi International Air Base, Kuwaiti, and city, I did have the sergeant major of the 82nd. He was standing there, tall, and nodding at us and waving at us and giving us a thumbs up. Really there to like, you know, to root us on as we drove. So that was the best send-off speech that I got. Taking part in the convoy like this makes you realize how much of the army is just a giant trucking operation. That's exactly it right there. Supply, supply, supply. Literally hundreds of cargo carriers of all descriptions roar down the road, pumping troopers, fuel, water, food, rucksacks, generators, medical supplies, ammo, you name it, keeping a massive string of overstuffed vehicles together. And secure formation is an exercise in hurry up and wait. There's a kind of science to secure convoying, which is so freaking true. What a joke. This is a freaking Legland, sputtered the company commander. Here we are, the 82nd Airborne, the most deployable unit in the United States military, and elite outfit that prides itself on being able to throw thousands of guys and tons of vehicles out of airplanes anywhere in the world within hours, and we can't get 40 freaking trucks organized on a full day's notice. Like, yeah, we sucked at it. We sucked hardcore at it. We created a lot of parking lots with our convoys of vehicles where we sat around. We're like, what are we doing now? Everyone's like, we're trying to figure that out. We're trying to get like directions, and we're just like, we're in artillery range. We need to get going. We're a parking lot of vehicles, and are all like, the Air Force is already taking. Don't worry about it. We can sit here and park here all week long. Thus, much of the night, we rumbled along about 30 miles per hour or less. There are numerous stops or breakdowns, refueling, lost drivers, and the like. Yep, I was in all of those, except for lost drivers. Never lost anybody, but there was numerous breakdowns, and then one time we had to like pull over on the side of the road and literally use a ratchet strap and a pickaxe to change out a tire. That was just a funny moment. It was just five guys trying to beat off a giant truck tire off of the rim of its wheel. And none of us have really ever done it by hand. So we were just like, just struggling, just bashing it with a freaking pickaxe to finally get it off. Must have been like funny from a kind of like an outsider watching us and being just like, I have no idea what they're doing, do they? Um, but hey, we eventually got it. There had been a lot of shooting on the road. I mean, yeah, all little tiny skirmishes and a lot of the shootings on the road too were just accidental discharge of weapons. Uh, yeah, just accidents. Just a bunch of kids in their vehicles with loaded machine guns, and yep, nobody got hurt, but you know, uh, accidental. Somebody who got out of his vehicle jumped back in, slammed the door shut, and kind of bumped his machine gun, and it went off and shot up the inside of his cab and out the window, and everyone's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And it was just an accident, but little moments like that happened. Some guy, accidentally shot off his automatic grenade launcher next to a vehicle. When we were driving up, the infantry shot off a automatic grenade launcher round on the side of our convoy, and after that happened, we were all wide awake the entire night, like wide-eyed, thinking anything next is gonna come out and like attack us. Oh, that going. I walked in that. I walked in there. Yeah, it's funny seeing it in a fiction. It's like, where's headquarters? Right there. Really, really. Just, we're just like, that's it. Okay, cool. We may be badly outnumbered, but the U.S. forces have declared war on these winged nemesises. That was pretty damn disgusting. Where it's just like, would get up in the morning, we would have our like one canteen cup full of water to brush our teeth and shave our faces, and just trying to do it, shave your face with this little tiny cup, and you're just constantly hit by these sandflies nonstop, and it's just like your face is wet and you're just sloshing shaving cream and crap everywhere as you're just being rubbing these flies off of you as you're shaving and cutting yourself, and they just attract even more. Check it out. I was talking, literally shaving his face on the side view mirror. Except if you could see all the little like bugs and gnats hitting him every once in a while, it sucked big time. And you really didn't want to like brush your teeth afterwards, but I still forced myself to because it was like the same, like we didn't really have water to wash our mouths out with because we had to like reserve water. So just use spit, toothbrush, and brush your teeth, spit it on out, just keep on spitting till your mouth feels clean. That's how I did it. Whoa, you got 2 cups of water, brother? That is unfair. I only had one. You only got one. Dude, civilians freaking got treated like kings. Reporters, whatever, dude. So I can't help feeling bubbly. I know, right? We can get pampered, man. Anyways, talking about going to the bathroom, because there was no bathrooms. We had these foldable entrenching tools, and if you were to turn it into this kind of like L section, so it's like the shovel top, this is the stick holding it, you could hold it like that. Well, if you would make a little seat with it so that you sit your butt on top of the shoveling scoop section and then stick the handle to the ground, you would make like a kind of toilet to sit on and poop into the desert. And I had to go, number 2, and so I just stepped out into the desert over a sand dune to go. As I was sitting there, it was next to a dirt road where the infantry drove by with their trucks with all their lights on, and they saw me, and it was hilarious. They were clapping and yelling and hooting for me. And it was a really funny moment as I just sat there in disgrace. Yeah, man. Better. One guy's like, better going out than in, huh? So. And then after all the line of trucks passed, I was just sitting there as a night in silence comes back, and I'm just sitting there, just alone again. I couldn't poop anymore. I picked up my trudging tool and left. The rock drill named comes from the fact that these were traditionally staged using stones, sticks, and whatever the fighters can get their hands on the battlefield. I mean, like over the years, these just got so stupidly elaborate. The garrison life before we got into this war, it turned into this like kind of like artistic expression of how the battlefield, the rock drill is supposed to like go. People would spend like hours creating these intricate, like using all kinds of, like ribbon and tape and boxes and trash and rocks and sticks and logs and all kinds of, like making air, like kind of like a train set, with all the little houses and the bushes and the trees and stuff. They would get that far into it when we were in the rear in the 82nd Airborne. Man, I used to just sit there and look at awe at it because the time it took somebody to make one of these rock drills, the actual operation would last maybe like a few hours. That person spent more time making this rock drill than it took us to actually execute the battle plan. And usually the rock drill is usually like thrown out. It's just like, yeah, that's a great idea. But whatever, like then when we would actually practice, we turned to like a shit show because nobody memorized anything and blah blah blah. The gentlest war. Sure. I was on plenty of radio calls during the middle of the night where I was on guard listening to them fight the front while civilians were pulling up to our checkpoints and they didn't know what the heck they were. So instead of stopping, they nervously tried to just drive on through. Well, we took that as being a aggressor, but no, it was just a bunch of civilians trying to blast past a bunch of scary soldiers sitting in front of them. But anyways, they didn't make it because we would shoot rocket propelled grenades. The automatic grenade launcher rounds, machine gun fire, and everything else. And the vehicle would just blow up with, a bunch of civilians inside. And then the commander would be like pissed off. He's just like, who are you shooting at? What are you shooting at? As our gate guards were just like, one insurgent, two civs, and then just like turn off the radio, as in like you could tell like they didn't shoot any bad guys, that those were just civilians who were trying to, who were scared, driving through our checkpoint, had no idea what was going on, and they got blown up for it. Like that happened a lot of times. And you might say like, well, show me the proof. It's like, I'm sorry, I was on radio in the middle of the freaking night where over the hill you would watch the explosion go off. One of the camps that I was guarding, I had one of the Abrams tanks pull up, and the guy pulled out the regular ammunition and swapped it for armor piercing 50 caliber rounds to be used on civilians because he just liked to watch the body parts fly off. I did not see any of that happen, but I saw him yelling it as he parked his tank, throwing out the cans of ammo from the regular bullets. They are going to fire them all, and we'll see what happens. that'll make it to the big event. See, like, there you go. All this, like, trying to be calculating the best strategy in it. There was none of that. Literally, here it is. They're going to fire all of them and see what happens. That has been the outcome of every situation that I was around. Just shoot it, see what happens every time. That'll make a big event for the pilots I've been hanging with. Each Hellfire costs about as much as a Mercedes. The men aren't insensitive to these dangers around them. They just proceeded in spite of them. One of the squad commanders walks away to each of his helio pilots, one at a time, puts his face next to theirs, and asks if they're ready to fly tonight. If the general calls, are they rested enough to handle the trickiness of the NVG navigation for several hours? Wow, that is a long time. Are they mentally ready to get fired at? I mean, you ask these questions about a medic. Black Hawk pilot asked the same exact questions to me before we drove around a city that was under attack. And he asked these same exact questions, but it's just like you answer him like, and then he runs away. It's just like you can't. There's no other answer to that question in that moment in time because it's just like regardless if you're going to be upset or not, there's no time for that. It's no time. But it was also weird to see that the medic helicopter guy jumped out and he's just like, you ready? You ready to fight? Good. You ready to go? Don't worry, we'll never leave you behind. And then he runs off to go tell the next truck. And I'm sitting there like, I'm just like, you didn't have to say that. You didn't have to. But it's a real, yeah, it's a real thing where it's just like you're gonna go get blown up, but we'll still drag you back. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's the reality of it. We see fiery red darts in the sky above us, and that mean there was an Apache helicopter up there loosing rockets. And suddenly all falls silent. Really think seriously, I was on guard listening to like the kind of like howitzers shoot off. I was making a disgusting coffee using a water bottle, and all of a sudden these Apache helicopters just approach and just hellfire missiles all into a town. And then after that, everything went silent. The radio went silent. Just sat there sipping my nasty coffee made of coffee packet in the MRE, the hot cocoa packet, and the creamer. And you mix that together and shake it up, and you kind of lie to yourself and think it's a mocha cappuccino. It wasn't. It was disgusting. But anyways, I drank it. It's better than nothing. So we start to creep into the heart of Samoa. Guns ready. Special Republican Guard and the preliminaries had dug in a large number of machine guns and mortars on the other side. Yeah, I remember that. RPGs, weapons of all sorts, over the bridges. Yep, flying everywhere. We had rounds landing 45 feet from the colonel's Humvee. I wasn't that close, but I was around the boom, so they were really opened up for us for several hours. But we punched back and killed a large number of them, and took many prisoners. Which I know what happened to the people on the opposite side of these bridges, but I'm gonna see if he gets around to it because it's extremely big. Also on April 2nd, a large number of armed guerrillas congregated in the stadium. Here we go. In an adjoining abandoned schools, shots were exchanged, and the 319th Artillery was called in. Howitzers round flew fast and furious. We literally pushed them all into that stadium and killed them all. That is the story that I was thinking about. He's being really big. He hands out coffee flavored hard candies mailed over by his wife, and has brought an inverted, which covers his Humvee's 24-volt battery and a 110-volt power used by his coffee maker each morning. You had a coffee maker? Dude, super jealous. Really, I really am, because I lived off coffee packets from the little MRE, like the little like clear packet that comes with the poop gum. Did you know that those peanut butter and cheese packets that you find in MREs that people are just like, it's my favorite part? That actually makes you constipated because a shitting soldier is not a fighting soldier. However, the little packet of white gum that you find within the little like accessories pack, that's actually a laxative. So after a few days of MREs, you start to notice like I haven't been crapping for a while now. And when I try to crap, I really can't. So it's because of those peanut butter and cheese packets. So eat the gum. You'll be okay. How do I know this? Because I was able to take a class within the interworkings of what the military is fed. It was kind of this very like advanced platoon sergeant leader class. I had to show up for something, and so I just sat in on it. And they were teaching us all about the MREs and what they all do and their inner workings. I'm like, this dude had a coffee maker. I was right across the bridge from him. It was literally, I could have just crossed the bridge in gunfire and just been like, give me that, give me that coffee. Here's your 5 gallon of diesel fuel for your freaking vehicle. Give me that coffee. What I did. It was I said this before, but it's like I was a nuclear, biological, chemical soldier, which blah 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 blah. It wasn't needed, so our small fuel truck was though, and so we were able to. I was attached to the infantry during this moment in time to refuel them, and so I became a fuel truck driver for the infantry. Anyways, lost my train of thought. Give me your coffee maker there, Sergeant, whoever you are, Foley. Freaking jerk. This is a dangerous phase. We've got the PSYOPs team broadcasting on the streets now, telling people that the coalition forces are conducting risky operations and that they need to stay in their homes to be safe. We're putting out that message, and for now, anyone who approaches you has the orders to be a potential enemy, so be on guard at all times. The PSYOPs guys driving around those cars with like giant speakers on top, the Humvees. They were like blasting that Let the Bodies Hit the Floor song. Oh man, they were like yelled at, like, it's just like, stop being that soldier and play the message, you know? It's the biggest douchebags, I swear. Uh, anyways, they eventually did their job. The house by house paratroopers from the Bravo Company, 2nd Battalion, moved down the alley, clearing structures one by one. Iraqi fighters had secreted themselves all through the heavily residential district, and many families discovered inside the buildings had not relocated to safer areas. Yes, I know this was another job we had to do after the infantry moved on from these houses after checking it. We were told to go in behind and tell the civilians like to get it. And so then we had to go through like crash course of how to enter and clear a room with the infantry way. Yeah, that was a shit show. So as in just like us like walking into a room, I didn't see anybody, but it's like other soldiers in my platoon, came across other civilians just like hanging out in their house. They would just like walk in and be like, you gotta leave. And it's like obviously they didn't know what the heck we were saying. They were just like, don't kill me, please. As we're like mumbling the whole like English, get out, you need to leave. We actually had a translator come and help us. No, nobody was pushed around or pushed out of their house. We literally just like da 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 da, and they just looked at us, and then we left. and and then a translator came in and talked to them. Anyways, American soldiers good wrapped in goodness and aggressiveness in the very same uniform, just like that same exact line. When they shoot at people, they rarely miss. But we missed a lot, and I was the best marksmanship in our group. It's very different shooting at people than it is on targets. I gotta tell you that, as I could soon attest. Okay. Yet they don't nurse grudges. They forgive easily and graciously. Let's see where this goes. Let's see where this goes. Charitably and humane to opponents. I'm not even sure if we were in the same war together. Not even sure. I mean, we didn't do anything awful, but we didn't. I mean, charitable, yeah. Humane, depends the situation. In a circle all around our camp, the inferior hounds of Iraq began their horrible yeeping, choking, yowling barks. Oh yeah, man. Even the dogs, right? Some squeals as if caught in the jaws of some other dog. Some other dog, perhaps they are. Yeah. What happened was that as we pushed through towns going up, um, a lot of people, like life destabilized for the Iraqi people, so they had to leave their their homes, villages, and towns because we're freaking, war was like going on. So they just left their dogs. They just let them out of the house and said, "See you later." And so I'm telling you, dogs by the packs of like hundreds and thousands roamed around us, and it was crazy. All types of dogs, shapes, sizes, colors. They were just poured around our areas, probably looking for food or just attention because they're used to being around like humans. But man, they were just chaos. We had to, I'll just say it, basically like the snipers, this the commander said like, look, we need to take down these crazy dogs. So snipers, do your job. So if you can use your imagination any bit like further, they got to work. Oh, he had a pound cake. Oh, that was a lucky find too. And the pound cake, yes, yep. Those were like a golden treat in your little like MRE packet. Bad guys were everywhere. Uh, this route we'll be driving is where the heaviest action of the war has taken place, and it needed to be an enemy tank to be a threat. Attacks are being made from school buses, yeah, yeah, and taxis, yeah. Fires in a compound where they would just do drive-bys in their little school buses and taxis. Yeah, it was tough. By people who look like civilians, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like they didn't get away with it. They literally like melted those school buses in the road, and those little like taxis that they were like driving on. I was as they were like doing like drive-by shooting style. I looked over the wall and I was about to shoot at him, but the other soldier next to me shot the guy in the back of the head, and the entire window like just like blew up, and the car just went crashed into the wall, and like they didn't get away. And then the school bus didn't get so far because they drove right next to an automatic grenade launcher that did that movie making thing where they were hit by so many grenade rounds that all the walls and the top of the bus down to just its chassis and burning wheels was just rolling on the road, and it just crashed. Like so it's not like they didn't get away without consequences. The colonel assures that all the rules of engagement allowed encumbered self-defense against any apparent threat. Oh yeah, definitely. Um, no radioing for permission to shoot. No, we didn't. No one did. Look at this line. The 82nd, they rarely miss. I'm gonna tell you, I miss a lot. I shot up a car, a wall, a whole field of dirt. I don't know if all beat up trucks and vehicles look the same, but I shot the crap out of a vehicle that looked just like this. It wasn't this one, but what happened with me is that there was a wall here, and bad guys shot at me, ran behind this vehicle to hide, and we were like shooting after them. And I was literally like wasting a vehicle as they ran down the wall, trying to jump over it to get away and stuff. But man, it is very different trying to shoot somebody in real life. Very different. Plus, it was like middle of the night too. Still, still, I freaking took out that broken vehicle like a champ. Wasted a whole magazine on it. I laid waste to a house, but I got a perfect shot with my grenade launcher. This dude's weapon right here is a grenade launcher attachment to his rifle directly into a building that blew up inside. We all cheered afterwards, but you know, it was during a firefight. Anyways, but yeah, we rarely miss grenade launched rounds into buildings. It was a good shot. It was literally like across a field at nighttime. My first, there was two teenagers and a guy. They shot at me, got into a firefight for a couple minutes. They ran into this building away from us. It was a giant field. Building here, building there. I jumped on top of this building and shot around into that building. It blew up at nighttime with just my iron sights. My first shot totally airballed. Like it went into the neighborhood across the street. And my lieutenant, who was down bottom, he yells out to me, "Just keep lobbing them, man. Just you'll get one." And my fellow soldier next to me, he was just like, "Man, do you want me to do it?" And I was just like, "No, I got it." So I flipped down a sight, aimed again, did it intuitively, and I went directly in. And so when it blew up, it was like a celebrate. Everybody down bottom was like, "Yeah!" Like I was like, "Yeah!" I was nicknamed 203 after that. Actually, had a Sergeant Wolf from the infantry pull up one day in his vehicle. Actually, I was refilling soldiers who were coming off the front, and they were on like the 1,000 yard stare. As I was trying to like be all like, "Hey guys, you doing all right?" They didn't respond. They just sat there as they were filling up their vehicles. And Sergeant Wolf pulls up. He has a bloody cheek, jumps down, recognizes me right away. He's just like 203, and I'm just like, "Oh my god!" He's still hyped up because I think he just got off the battlefield, and he's sitting there saying something exploded next to him, and I think it was a rocket propelled grenade. It either exploded next to his vehicle or on his next to his vehicle, and he got like hit by it, and he's just like extremely yelling out to me. He's just like, "Now this guy right here, 203, he knows his shit. You guys, you should take some examples from him." As the infantry is just still sitting there like. And so they're like, "It's going to take you out that 203." And he gets back in his truck and he jumps on like this like 50 cal. He opens it up. He has this like extra large size can of like gun oil and just like dumps a plop on there and just like keeps on loading it. And then he's like, "Whoa, let's get back out there." And he like closes it and his driver's like freaking out and they peel off and drive off again. And I'm just sitting there like, what was that? What was that? As I get back to like fueling up the trucks. What the hell? I'll be joining this group. And so I end up with Charlie Mortar Team. I also refueled Charlie Mortar Team as we all, so I got to sit there and watch them shoot off rounds because I was just curious. I have no idea uh, My mortar team worked. Artillery piece attached to a tank. They're so freaking loud. I was in a makeshift shower once, and one of them pulled up next to the area, or in the vicinity, close enough to be next to me, and freaking shot off a round. Oh man, I jumped out of that shower like thinking that it was an explosion, but no. And then it like reloaded and like shot another one, and it's just like the sound and the the physical force of like each round like makes you like move. Your body is like it's like, oh my god, I'm standing there like with my towel naked in the desert daylight, and just like, oh my god, so scared. um kind of man, I've had moments like that in Iraq too. Not picky paratroops from the 3rd Battalion of the 325th lay down to sleep on the dusty platform of the Samoa train station. Holy crap, this is train station. Oh man. I was here. I was here and it wasn't a good time. After my first firefight, I wasn't drinking water properly at at all. Because I was just so strung out from the previous night. And I was delusional. I was walking around this train station, like asking people for just like water, and they were just like so very dismissive of me. They were just like looking at me like, "Get away from me, you crazy dude." So I went to the medic tent, passed out on one of their gurney things, and I was trying to like tell the medic like what was going on, and that I got into a firefight and we were being chased and all this stuff. And he's just like, it's okay, man. You don't have to tell me at all now. Just relax. You're gonna be all right. And I'm just like, but no, we were doing this and that and this, and this guy tried to kill me, and then we were doing this, and I shot a, and he's just like, huh, it's okay, it's okay. Um, and I literally passed out because I remember that the little gurney spot, or whatever the hell they're called, green layout cloth thing. Oh yeah, cots. That's what they were called. The green cots. I don't know if you can see in the background. These dudes are sitting on some here. Was like completely soaked in like super cold water. Felt so good. Like it was like laying down in the most comfortablest bed ever. And like a couple minutes of me like mumbling off about my story to this guy, I literally passed out. And then I woke up about an hour and something later, jumped up, wide eyed, and like all the medics like were just like, "You okay?" Ran out of the room with grabbing all my gear, ran out of the room, ran outside, and was just peeing for like 20 minutes straight. And they were just like laughing. They came like running outside. They're just like, man, we thought you were gonna be stuck in a coma. We literally gave you 3 bags of saline. You're not supposed to even give people 3, but man, you just kept on taking them. And I'm just like, why'd you do that? As I'm like peeing still. And see, he says like it's normal. We usually just give people saline until they wake up. But you just didn't wake up, so we kept giving you more. I'm just like, the hell, man? So, anyways, so you can give somebody 3 bags of saline, those giant, like you see them in all the movies, a liter's worth of salt water, basically electrolytes. Anyways, I stayed hydrated for the rest of the deployment. I did not fall. I took care of myself. It's just that was a crazy night because it's was some stupid 20-year-old who never been into real life and death machine gun firefight throughout the entire evening. It's MREs. My favorite variety is the excuse me, restaurant rice and beans. That was the grossest one. It was like the most hardest packet of the MREs, like brick of rice and beans. Drawed one soldier kick off several minutes of foul wordplay on the name of the dishes pointed out on each container. I mean, it was, I mean, like, we all had our favorites, though, you know? And we had better to get our favorite out of that box. That was a thing. I was just like, no, the cheese tortellini is mine. Nobody else's. Don't freaking touch it. Iraqi PO did POW. Oh, you should. Yeah, they're chilling underneath shade. Relax there. Yeah, that's that's bullshit, dude. We literally dug them size of a small house. Dig them a nice giant square kind of like trench. And we walked them in one by one and sat them knees or sitting, zip tied up, and we filled this trenched thing. These are the walls with people all the way up, made a nice little ramp for them in the dirt, surrounded them in this concertina wire and sandbags, and left them. They got a little weird after a while because, hey, we put a bunch of human beings next to each other for hours on end. They just started doing weird stuff. Anyways, maybe this was like before we stuck them into that trench because there's a nice giant kill of earth right here that was placed, I see in the picture. Maybe that's what's going on here. I don't remember them hanging out with them like this. But at the very same time, the American POWs were being murdered and abused. These were detainees received medical care, food, and shade. Yes. Yeah, they did. Just the shade part really confused me because I don't know. I just remember just passing by and those people just sitting in the daylight in this like trench in the ground. One of the funniest things this whole damn deployment was watching the POWs eat MREs. We gave them food. I mean, when I gave them that fudge brownie without any water to drink, what? Dude, the fudge brownie was good. That was good. I like the fudge brownie. Yeah, those things are tough as woodpecker left. No, they weren't. They were decent, actually. They were better than the crackers were like the most like driest thing. And yeah, if you got a fudge brownie or a pound cake, it was like bonus. Okay, sure. What MRE are you eating? I can't read it. That sucks, man. I really wanted to know because there's like some like MREs that they don't make anymore. You know, like uh the tuna and pasta. They don't make that anymore. And I don't think they do another. Do they still do the cheese tortellini one? Anyways, we were literally eating MREs from the first Iraq war. During this war, we like pulled a box off of the MRE truck and checked it. Expiration date 90s or like 90 91, and then so we were just like still ate it. It was fine. It's good. There was about 50 tanks on this airbase that we had to take out. And I think I know where it's talking about. I took a picture there. I came in after the fact, I think, which is not surprisingly given in the Iraqis' Air Force nearly ceased to exist a dozen years ago. Yeah. This was still an active military facility a week ago. However, until the Army's 3rd Infantry Division swept through and cleaned it out. After it is cleared of bombs and debris, which I had to do because we turned into a bomb specialist too. It was like an advanced job of the NBC because we were like the MVC. They were just like, yeah, you know, bombs too. It's like, I know how to set up plastic explosives. That's it. I don't know like how to freaking the difference between a freaking active little tiny cluster bomb piece or not that's sitting on the ground. Is it gonna blow up or not if I touch it? I have no idea. No, nobody else did, except for that stupid kid who kicked one and it blew his leg off, pretty much. When we told him not to. Just one of the infantry kids just kicked a box and blew his leg open. And I saw him ride by on one of those like mini grasshopper or whatever they were called things with their little displeased face, and his entire leg was wrapped up. And it's just one of those moments where it's just like as he's like driving by, we're just like, we told you so, you know. So, anyways, um, we would have to the rest of the stuff we had to like point it out, tag it, send bricks around it, and then somebody behind us would set off the explosion to detonate it. I found one. No, it wasn't like finding one. I was like looking at it and saying like, that's an unexploded bomb. So we just blew it up. We didn't even like, after that kid blew his leg to pieces, you know. Um, we just anything that looked abnormal, we're like, that's bad. Kaboom. Anyways, I took a great picture there too. There was this Iraqi flag painted on the entry gateways, and I could probably try to find it. I think I have it saved on my computer. But anyways, like a stupid 20-year-old American kid, I wanted to take a picture in front of the giant Iraqi flag, like some, like I was here, Iraq picture. March 27th, we uncovered a little surprise this morning. I just sat down for breakfast for a chicken and salsa. Wow, you lucky butt. Where'd you get that from? And in the land of the MREs, every meal is a day. Yeah. All right. He had the mystery chicken patty with that bits of salsa mess. Yeah. I used to like it kind of too. But some older guys decided that what looked like a buried wheel and a hubcap located maybe 8 feet from me was possibly a anti-tank mine. A Humvee was parked just short of it. The guys had stumbled over it all night in the dark on their way out to pee. This morning, Corey O'Connor, who was in the high school for Rhode Island 10 months ago, actually jumped up and down on top of it. Curious, I guess. Yeah, we did stupid stuff like that. Excuse me, I almost swore there because of the dumb things we do. I even that was part of the EOD for a bit. We stockpiled these tank mines that they're talking about, and I made a bed of them and laid down on it to take a picture. They were all alive too. I mean, like there was no like turning them off. We just dug them up and stacked them up, but you needed a certain amount of pressure to set them off. So it's like this little kid who I was at that time wouldn't have set them off, but it was a really stupid thing to freaking do. Still have that picture somewhere. Let's share it at one point. Luckily, tank mines, like the anti-personnel versions, take thousands of pounds of pressure to detonate. Don't jump on them like I did. Well, I didn't jump on them, I laid on them. And I threw them around too, because I was sick of carrying them around. So I'm just like flinging them because I'm just sick of it. And so, and everybody's like, what are you doing? I do have a time where we were, some Iraqi citizens pointed out some extra rockets, just a truckload of them sitting in their yard, and was just like, these are yours. And so we checked them to see if they were anything bad. They were just regular HE rockets. So we were driving them back, and instead of driving on the harball, the road, we drove off the side of the road. but there were a bunch of tank mines there, and so the entire city of locals were, like, here is the road, here is we were driving, and here is all the locals lined up watching us as we drove down at a really, like decent gap space between us. Well, one of the heaviest trucks triggered one of those landmines and blew up two trucks in front of me. And it was amazing being around like such a large explosion where just everything stops. And then it was just our Humvee was just showered in sand, and it was all in slow mo until you like slowly get yourself out of that like concussionary blast, and you're just like, "Wah, oh my god, bad guys," like jumping out of the vehicles and seeing who shot an RPG at us. But as I look over to where all the civilians were like lined up watching to see if we would blow up or not, and not really saying anything, the they were all gone. People who were large enough for like one of our, like Thanksgiving parades. That was how many people that were like standing there. And it took like seconds for all of them to like vanish. And so then I'm still like trying to figure out where the bad guys are at. And then just this one dude who's like dressed in like kind of military clothes with like a baseball hat and a scruffy face, and he's just like walking down a road like laughing. Then all of a sudden he sees me looking at him, and then he goes like, "So, when did you guys finally figure out you're in a minefield?" And then he rips off a sign, because there was a road, a picketed sign with posts and these little tiny minefield signs, but facing the opposite way. And he ripped it off a post and shows it to me. And I'm like, minefield. Everyone's like, minefield. And we all like get the vehicles off. We all scatter, like, good thing that we were with like the like EOD team who were able to like dig out all of the mines and be like, they're tank mines. They're not heavy enough, but because that truck was, driving around rockets. Good thing that the cab blew up and not the rockets, right? And I'm just like, starting with a bang. The men are in great spirits tonight and ready for action. They're sober enough, though. Around sunset, a massive fireball erupts down the plain, followed by a mushroom cloud, and at last a huge bomb. The radio reports that the Army EOD, Explosive Ordnance Division, which I have another gigantic story about them. I broke their satellite phone. These dudes that are blowing this up now, we were attached to them toward the end of our 2 months there. I broke their satellite phone. They pissed. They were the nicest guy, but man, it was one of those moments where it's just like, you just don't know a person until something goes really, really wrong. And they were like so helpful, so inclusive, so friendly. And then I'm just like, cell phone's not working anymore. This dude blows up in a yelling fit. He's like wrecking stuff, throwing things, running around being like, what the fuck? What the fucking fuck? You fucking fuck. And I'm just sitting there like, this guy was the most cuddliest person on the planet Earth. Now he's a monster. I'm like, and this dude is in charge of removing and disposing of explosives. And including he's in charge of us, that we have been attached to him. And it made me wonder, like, why are we here? We know how to work C4, but beyond that, a lot of these munitions, which are like mortar shells, rockets, um, pieces of explosive ammunition, all kinds of crazy stuff. We had no experience with dismantling, getting rid of. We just knew how to like hook up C4 and blow it up. And it's pretty easy. I mean, you just grab a block of this block of, like Play-Doh, square Play-Doh. You take a blasting cap wire. It's green, silver blasting cap at the end. Stick it into the kind of like Plato block. Lay it out. Set far enough away, following your your line all the way out to a detonating device. It's usually like a clicky thing, and you attach it, and you just, I think I'm far enough out. It's like, all right, we're blown up. All right, brace yourselves. Click, boom, and then it blows up. So it's not like I'm a C4 specialist. I know exactly the science behind it. Ha ha ha. But anyways, um, from this guy, I kind of got the idea that we were there, or if something was really bad, he'd send us kids to go and do it, and then he'd be like, go poke that, go see what that does, instead of him doing it, you know. So I know those type of people exist everywhere. It's out of fear. Fortunately, we were thrown out of his group because I broke his cell phone. So everybody else in my squad was pissed. They were like, this was great, wonderful. You ruined it for us. And I'm just like, we can't trust these guys. There's something wrong here. We need to leave. So I took advantage of breaking their cell phone or their satellite phone. Mortar tubes. Hey, here we go. Yep. Team exploded large caches of mortars. Yep. Uncovered at the edge of base. Irregulars of mortar tubes all set up. Yep. Rounds are stockpiled and unloaded in American positions under the cover of darkness. One powerful, actually, the crater that I made in the earth was during days. And there was a gentleman, an Iraqi gentleman, walking his camel. And we drove away from where we planted our C4s to blow up the rockets and mortars and stuff. When we pull over, we get out, we're sitting there like lying, our vehicles lined up, and we're using them as like shields. There's this like guy with his camel walking, and we kind of like wave at him, and he's just like, okay, and he keeps on walking. And then my sergeant's like, hey, we should tell him. It's just like the other guy's like, hmm? He presses the button, and giant, like explosion, mushroom cloud. The dude like hits the ground and like scrambling backwards, and we're all laughing at him at his sight. His camel's running. It's just like, we thought it was funny then, but man, that was awful. We were so dumb. But the crater we left in the earth, like a football stadium, man. The thing was huge. I mean, it's just like we even like jumped down into it just to see how deep it was, and it was like, like 3 person tall. And then I didn't jump down because I'm just like, that's fresh, explosive dirt. I don't know what is in there. Could be anything. Um, and then like one of our guys jumps down in there. He's like, it's pretty deep, and we're just like, how you gonna get out? He's like, shit. But we helped him out. The last part of the trip, we're going to be off the hardball, the paved road, and cutting the cross country over the diciest stretches. Yeah, that was, yep. Warns the convoy master over a radio. He urges the drivers who will be navigating the night vision goggles, which is tricky, to process slowly to avoid rollovers. He was, he warns troopers to hang in tight and not to be surprised if we take fire entering the city limits. Soldiers remain wondrously cool, quite bold, and highly amusing. I mean, like we just followed. We were in that like lemming mode, just okay. And now we're driving off road. No, just turned the off road, and it was kind of, it was really enjoyable because it went from, like highway roads to this like beautiful stretching desert landscapes that were just went on the horizon, and it was just beautiful because it's like that kind of like heat haze was actually there, but there was this like flatness with like deserty mountains, and we were just sitting there like cruising. Um, I even like had my squad leader. He stopped. He looks over to me and he's just like, do you know that we are driving down the same road that Jesus walked? And I'm like, how do you know that? Because we're in the middle of the desert driving vehicles on a road that doesn't look like road. And then he pulls up his GPS and he says, I mapped them out beforehand. I'm like, wow, you were dedicated. And he's, he was just, he was just like, shut the fuck up. He's just like, this is really important. I'm just like, fine, it's your thing. Totally cool. But yeah, it was a very, he was able to go to Babylon on Easter. He was thrilled. He was just like, oh, I got to sit back with the vehicles. You guys go. And he was like really bummed out. I could see that he was like pouting a bit. And I'm like, I'll sit with the trucks. Why don't you go with everybody to Babylon? And he's just like, really? Thank you so much. You don't care. And I'm like, you know, I don't care. You know, I'm not big time religious and you are dedicated to this stuff. Go for it, man. And he's just like, thank you. And he runs off, man. But they were thrilled. Our leaders have been shooting for the hearts and minds of everyday Iraqis. Actually, the most of the Iraqis that I interacted with on a normal basis actually were extremely friendly. We had tons of conversations or just met and smiled and waved and, you know, said our like hellos and stuff. Yep. Some because I drove around a lot and I saw a lot of little cities and towns and villages and all over the place and all different types of men, women, children, everybody. But it's just like you almost I almost lost the idea at one town where it's just like I was even in this theater as a soldier trying to fight in a war. It was just like I just felt like a visitor where like we were able to like take off our helmets and just hang out with the Iraqis and just talk. I mean, like they had broken English, but still didn't like stop us from being like one human talking to another and just enjoying as the sun is going down at the end of a day. I mean, I had a really nice like palm tree forest, just like hanging out in front of this guy's like, you know, like front yard with his palm tree forests and just his kids and family were just hanging and running around and stuff. As just like a normal day. It's actually really nice. That these men have no missions planned for the night. So I hop a ride in a truck full of water bottles and an MREs. I remember seeing that. We had these giant like pallets of just like stacked of these, you know, like liter sized bottles of water, but after moving them so many times, the plastic just came undone and there were just these piles of water bottles instead. And we just throw them in like the back seat of trucks and you could just like lay on them because it's like water and they were giant kind of like plastic water. So kind of felt like a waterbed, an uncomfortable, horrible waterbed, but still we would do it. We just like jump in there and lay on them. And it was fun. Final assault. Are we Baghdad dress rehearsal? At this point, I was circling around with my vehicle, so, and I know I didn't, I knew that I was, I was swapped out. I remember that, where it's like we came back to the rear. I had to swap out with the next squad and go up with them to the front. And then we got in trouble and we were kicked to the rear because we were attached to the infantry. We were part of their what is it called? Circle around perimeter guard. I thought it was Basra. I could be wrong. Anyways, they actually just start fighting each other in like gun trucks, zooming across open fields into roads. They're all just attacking each other, and we're all sitting there like behind our just like perimeter, like, who? Wait, who's fighting? Are they fighting us? Are we fighting them? Are we? No, they're fighting each other. Crap. Eventually, that fight made it to our perimeter. So we were getting ready to fight them, and our commander like just came up and got us, said we're packing up. They were like 2 blocks away from us. They were pushing towards us, the bad guys. Our commander's like, get in the vehicles, and I'm just like, sir, we cannot leave the vehicles, we are in the middle of a fight. And he's just like, shut up, Chris, and get in your vehicle, because I was the most outspoken one, because I had the most experience, I guess, in the front. He, like, yelled at me, so we all got into our vehicles. We drove away. Back to the rear, we heard a report later that the bad guys actually pushed through our little perimeter from that open spot that we left them. And then when the commanders of our commander found out, we were in trouble, and we literally had to stick it on perimeter guard in the rear for the rest of our time, and we were ignored. And literally, and it was a funny moment, because they didn't like us anyways, because we were like chemical soldiers. We were seen as not real soldiers, because we were like support. After our commander, the guy who's just like, Chris, get in your vehicle, we're leaving now, shut up, get in your vehicle, that guy. And he came back from the headquarters tent, flopped face down on his cot, and didn't move. And we kind of like walked up to him. We're just like, hey, what's going on? And then he's just like, whatever, I don't care. Do whatever the fuck you want. I just don't care anymore. We found out later on that it's just like literally he was chewed out by like the highest commander. He was just like, I'm done dealing with you trying to play hero soldier. You have no idea what you're doing, and you screwed us all over, and you could have gotten people killed. So I'm going to treat you like a child, and you're going to be stuck here now on like babysitting. We're going to babysit you, you and your platoon. So we were stuck in the rear for the rest of the deployment. Played a lot of cards. My brother actually sent a mixed CD disc, and it had that Linkin Park song that was popular during that time. Man, we played the crap out of that song, man. Everybody loved it. I would wake up every morning from my trailer bed. It was just a little like Humvee trailer, and I would just wake up, and I would ask my squad leader like, what's our mission? And then he would just be like sitting there against like kind of like Humvee tire, just not caring, and just being just Chris, why do you ask me this every morning, man? Just go do whatever you want. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And he goes, go what? Just fuck off. And then and so it's just like I would just wake up and go get food and come back and read this fantasy novel book, or I would go find whoever was sick of being on a guard duty, and I would swap out just to keep myself busy. Our entire platoon just kind of like gave up. It was a very weird moment where these like gun ho kind of like military guys who were just like lifers, and they were scolded for the first time, like seriously scolded, and they just like gave up. They're just like just stared off into the nothing, being like, my life's over. Do whatever the fuck you want. Who cares? Just I don't even know why I'm in the army anymore. Like that type of inner voice was going on. It was very weird. From like a week before, like you're like, we're gonna go fight, yay! In the third week of April, when a million Shiite pilgrims descended on the two holy sites for the first time since Saddam Hussein had represented their annual right decades earlier. Yes, it was. It was. I was there for that one. Thousands upon thousands of people just parading together to their sites of worship. Days worth of people just walking and waving and talking and singing and all kinds of stuff. The strong impressions of the news coverage back in the United States was that these people were unfriendly to the United States. No, they weren't. They're fine. They were doing their thing. Like we didn't interact. Well, my platoon and the unit that I was attached to, we just sat there watching them walk, and it's just like cool. That was it. Photos of a few fanatics who cut themselves with swords and bloody fever were heavily reprinted in the newspapers. I had no clue. I didn't, nobody like that I was around. Yet the truth is that the pilgrimage not only came off without a conflict, it turned out into a festive event that included with many passionate and warmth and gratitude towards the U.S. troops. Yeah, see, so that was what I was a part of. We just they're having a good time celebrating, and we were just waving and being like, "Hey," that was it. They were happy, we were happy. Nothing else to it. Our headquarters compound was right on the main road, with all the pilgrims walk down. Okay, see, yeah, I was there, Carl. Captain Robin Brown and the 82nd Helicopter Battalion tells me so. For 3 solid days, there was see, there was a constant river of people. Yeah, and they were singing, honking horns, celebrating. Yeah, see, I was on guard duty, watching, waving. How's it going? You know, we would watch over the low wall, and people would just wave to us, laugh and smile. Uh, like I said, uh, that was Easter weekend. She continues, and I attended a sunrise service for the troops. This is what I skipped. I let my squad leader go because he was really like hardcore believer, so he really wanted to go have Easter in Babylon. Wait, oh, this is just a eat. No, never mind. Well, he went to Babylon. We're talking about Easter weekend back at probably headquarters. Some locals brought us a whole case of ice cold orange soda, and you freaking held out. I was there. You see no orange soda? What the hell, man? I must have been on a different section. I don't know where they got it, but I was thrilled to have it. First cold drinks in months. That's why I'm so upset about it. You guys got orange soda? I was probably off on guard duty because I would volunteer for it as many times as I possibly can. So I would be stuck in the little hangout sections where people just sit there and play cards all day and just be stupid. Mm. Because the guys would just get bored and then they would just start to constantly poke fun, and it just turned into this like one up moment where it's like alpha males pretending to be alpha males, and then they would say some like snippy remark, and then they would have to say something even more crazy to get the other person back, and it was just like, please let me, okay, all right. And I'm sitting there like dragging my flak vest, just like, like, so and so, it's your time for guard duty. No, 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 I got it. Let me get it. Chris has it, and I'm just like, yes, I freaking do. Spent a lot of time staring at a desert, but had some good times on the radio. So we would just joke and have fun sitting inside of like tanks or the little like square track vehicles that like um, refill tank ammunition. Got to sit in these for guard duty once. I don't know who this dude is, but anyways, yes, this is very familiar. And that seat, and then there's also like a little like crow's nest here, and so we would sit there and watch the perimeter, where cows would walk by, and then we'd be on the radio. We would be so bored because we'd be sitting there all day. Someone on the radio, they would like call out cows, two of them, and then somebody else would just like radio, what do cows say? And then somebody else, they would say like moo. And then all of a sudden our commander, stop effing around on the radio, keep it quiet, important stuff only. And then we're all just like, yeah. The initial reports state that thousands of priceless and irreplaceable artifacts had been disappeared, many likely never to be seen again. I mean, like, my only interaction with treasures of Iraq was just the architecture of like Saddam's personal buildings and stuff. Carvings were freaking beautiful. The tiling work that was across his exterior buildings were just like these like reliefs of rose or flowers, and it's like the petals realistic. Just the prettiest work ever. And freaking there was other buildings that we bombed the shit out of and they were crumbling. But like the kind of like eagle statues that were like hanging off of it, they were works of art, man. I mean, like they were like treasures where it's just like we didn't mess with it because it's just like, hey, that's art, that's Iraqi art, do not touch, you know, like we were like very just like look at it, don't go in there, you know. So that's the only time that I saw artifacts or anything of the like. All the best pieces were gone, apparently taken by the looters who went on a spree the moment Saddam forces disappeared from the scene. Yeah, it's like every building, even before we even got there. I mean, like buildings and rooms were just like gutted and trashed. Where it's just like all the non-essentials were just like everywhere. You know, like just people just pretty much they probably just like took everything that was of value and their personal belongings to get out because the country was being invaded by another country. We would do the same exact thing. Matching white chairs that someone had found and dragged outside. We did that a lot. Where we would literally take apart all offices on the inside and drag all the furniture on the outside and recreate the inside building, but on the outside as we hung out with our vehicles. It was the funniest thing. We literally set up a couch, two chairs, a coffee table, and actual a light too. Someone found a plant, and we would all sprawl around it and sit and talk. Stupidest thing. I don't know. We would always do that. We just pull crap from the buildings and bring it outside. I don't know why. It just felt better. You know, like I don't want to sit inside somebody else's house. I feel more comfortable away. It was funny after we came back from the front, interacting with people who stayed in the rear, and we stepped into this air conditioned tent. Everybody had their computer desks. They were all in like rest fatigue uniforms, clean hair, look like they showered daily. See how clean they are and how their uniforms are kind of like, you know, like they haven't seen outside yet and their haircuts are all done and they're so clean. You know, like I had to go into one of these tents with people like this. We walked in like how we always were, you know, like in like our flak jackets, dirty as hell, our our helmets still on, our weapons at the ready, just like walking in, just looking at this like this didn't fit. We're just like, what? Why is everything so nice? The sergeant who was there saw us and freaked out. I didn't realize that these soldiers in this tent were still living the garrison lifestyle. And after being like a month in the front, being in the front rather than sitting in the rear like tents is so much better. I mean, like, that's where you get all the good stuff, all the good ammo, You got a lot less formalities, and the guy is just like, you need to take your helmets off while you're inside. You guys are getting dirt everywhere. Put your weapons, unload those weapons, and put them up on this weapons rack. And we're like, you have a weapons rack? And then I look over, and there's this, like makeshift wooden weapon rack with these like perfectly brand new M4 carbine rifles, never touched, just lined up perfectly, like black and shiny. And I'm just like, what do you guys do here? Versus like, I put up my rifle and it's war torn, dirty, a misshapen color because of like the sand. And it's just like, just two different worlds. Oh, nice. We had a camping stove. I had nothing. I had MREs with a little heater element to it. Oh, nice. It's you know it's for example, we're talking about helicopter pilots and I'm from the average Joe infantry minion side. So there's a class hierarchy there, a major one. It was funny. Another like suave, totally wound pilots, the 325 helicopter pilots. Let's have a small story about them. So they're seen as iconic heroes to the majority of the females in the army. And so I was walking up to one of those porta potty spots, had to pee, and all of a sudden one of them door burst open, and there's one of the pretty young female soldiers running out, smiling and laughing, while one of the pilots is zipping up his pants and kind of just like he kind of like points at me and keeps on walking, and I'm just like, okay. And then the female sergeant with me is just like, that's one of the helicopter pilots. And I'm just like, how do you know that? I'll be retreating from military someday, and then she can fix the place up. Buddy, I hope you've got a truly loving wife. You know, actually, the wall of shame is a true thing in the army. If anybody has never heard of it, it's literally a wooden sign put up in our rear where everybody wives who have been cheating on them or have broken up with them, their picture gets posted on this wall of shame to show that uh, that they're no longer married or with a girlfriend. Uh, so um, and that happened so freaking much. But there are a bunch of 20-year-old kids getting married, taking their girlfriend from their high school away from their family to a completely new city or town where they're stuck there by themselves or with their husband soldier. And from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., that soldier is working all day long, and she's stuck at home in this apartment or slash house, usually an apartment, by herself. What do you think's gonna happen after a month, after 2 months, after 3 months, So, yeah, well, I got the opposite problem. My wife is always mailing me this crap, and I can't use and I can't carry. Ungrateful bastard. You know how freaking wonderful and sweet and I would have taken that crap? I would have been like, thank you so much. It's so nice to see something that resembles civilian life in this freaking desert. I have 1 cup of water to wash and brush my teeth with every morning. And I haven't taken a shower in 2 months. I'd love to get a fun package from uh, anyone, I can't care. Teddy bears, dude, you got a teddy bear? That thing would have been tied to the front of our Humvees. Come on, man. And dumbass stuff like that. Wow, you're so mean to your wife. She tried to pack that with loving care. I'm telling you, she tried really hard to send you stuff that she would think that you would like. And you probably did like it. You're just trying to be that man, the masculine man in front of your boys. I'm going to have to tell her if I can't eat it or wash it or use it, don't send it. If it's fuzzy, definitely don't send it. He really wanted to hug that bear. No, they use the word italicized, the word definitely don't send it. But in truth, deep down, it's like a kind of like fear reactatory mechanism. He's just I definitely didn't want it. And if he were to like be by himself, he'd be holding that cute little teddy bear, thinking of his life back home, being like, this fucking deployment sucks. I hate everybody and hate everything, but damn, thank you. Thank you, wife, sending me this teddy bear. I like bears, especially this one. That's what really happened. Stop trying to act all tough. Hug that freaking bear, man. I had a little fun with my wife just before we left. Yep, please don't go into detail. Our email back and okay, yep, don't go into detail, please. I sent her a dish. Yep, not gonna read that out loud. Aftermath. I mean, so much more happens. Homecoming. Blackhawk up. C-130 out. Yep. I flew home in a bigger plane called the C-17. Yep. With a nice leathery seat. Who knew that that was even in there? I was expecting to like sit on one of like the kind of paratrooper, like metal seats that you pull down from the wall and you sit on it. There's a whole entire like level with these leather comfortable seats that we just like curled up on one and slept the entire ride back home. By the end of the first week of April, the military liberation of Samoa was complete. It had become clear to me that the U.S. military operation was nearly over. Yeah. And I felt that deeply during my homecoming and my many prep practicals. I really wonder if he happens where when I came home, we all like a couple of the guys and I hung out at like a pool bar, like the game pool. You hit the stick into the balls and it goes around a rectangle. Yep, that game. Oh, it's the best way to describe this. I felt like I was an alien in that room. It was really hard for me to get back to normal life, where it's like I would just look around at all the other patrons at the pool bar, which were all like civilians. They were, like talking and laughing and enjoying a beer or playing music and playing pool. And it just, their lives continued going on happily, uninterrupted, where the horrors of war that I just came home from are still ever present. And I feel like I just can't communicate with any of these people anymore. I'm a complete different person and I've seen so much and they're still just so happy. Look at all of them enjoying their life. Actually, another great example of what I'm talking about. The movie Lord of the Rings. I believe when they come home from like Mordor and they have survived, and so they go into like the Green Dragon, and the hobbits are all sitting around with a mug of beer, and the Hobbit world is still going on as happy as it ever was, but they just sit there, just like they don't fit in anymore because they've seen so much that have changed them. That's absolutely how that moment felt for me. I'm going on a month without running water. Just wait after 2 months, which he'll probably get to. We were without running water for 2 months. And you may say, like, well, you're military, you're used to that stuff. And it's just like, not a garrison military, not at all. But telling you, I literally was almost in tears when I got back to running water. Was it was one of those moments where it's just like turn on the faucet and I put my hands underneath running water. Now I'm looking around like, do you see this? It's running water. As my lungs now filled with the sweet moist air, and my eyes soaked up with the greenness of central New York, I swore to myself I would never again complain about 50-degree weather and the plant nourishing rain. And it will be a long time before I never voluntarily set my foot on a baking beach. I mean, like the words I told myself leaving that country, I will never return to this place ever again. I swear I will never go back. And then 3 months later, I returned. Unfortunately, I was there for 3 months, back home for 3 months, again, returned for another month or two, and then I was honorably discharged from the army. So, Sergeant Miller. No, I didn't. I was actually revoked my sergeant status because I wasn't conforming to the military ways. I was even told, like, if you keep on acting this way, you'll always stay specialist for the rest of your life in the army. And I'm sitting there like, I have 1 year left. What are you talking about? And then you see, you always got something wise crack to say. And then he walks off. I got in trouble a lot. Got in trouble, yeah, because of just because I didn't want to be a lifer in the army, and everybody knew it. Anyways, they did say, hey, if you re-enlist while you're over here in Iraq, there, Miller, we'll give you corporal rank. I'm like, I know that when I was getting out of the army, that they were like, literally, they grouped us up, and like one guy speaking outside in Iraq because we all were being sent home. What happened was that my company commander thought that because I had the most experience in combat, he forced me to come out a second time, even though that he would have to send me home earlier than everybody else, which is a very like discouragement in troop morale, which he shouldn't have done. But he took me along anyways, thinking that because I was over there, I would re-enlist. I literally didn't. They were like screaming at the top of their lungs. They brought me into this tent, and our company commander and our first sergeant would just like take turns walking in and out. I'd just stand there in attention. They would like come in and be all like, "You will re-enlist. You will do it, and that is your job as a soldier." And I'm just like, no, I'm entitled to tell you no. My contract is done. And then each one would just like come back in. You will fucking enlist. You will re-enlist now. I don't care what you think. And I'm like, no, I will not re-enlist. And then they were forced to just put me, and I was, like kicked out of the platoon and put into this group of soldiers going home early. And so, anyways, back to this story where they brought us all outside for like debriefing ceremony or something. And the guy's like, usually the army has this big thing where they want to like continue keeping soldiers in with like incentives and like, we'll give you sign-on bonuses, we'll give you, extra college money, all this fun stuff. We have nothing, and we're not going to give you anything. So the best bet is to not re-enlist. And we're we're all like standing there like, so if you're expecting to get something from enlisting, I do it because you want to support your family, and or because you're a lifer, because this is where you belong. But anybody else, they've got nothing for you. We're just like, thanks. And we all just like, okay, we're done talking. Go get your next like debriefing. It was a wonderful like, you know, moment they just didn't expect from like the military is always, like pro soldier, like uh, that day it was just like, those of you who want to stay, stay. Those of you who don't, please get the fuck out. Address given at the Rockford College in May by New York Times reporter Chris Hedges. He described the U.S. as unseating of Saddam as a grab for empire. Sure, it's right. I'll tell you one of the reasons we wanted their oil, and also a really wonderful staging area to access the rest of the Middle East, as in U.S. capitalist agenda, and maybe have a foothold and start selling McDonald's more there. He charged that the only two ministries we bothered protecting in Baghdad were the oil ministry and the interior ministry, presumably because America came to Iraq for oil and occupation. Hey, look at that. While I was driving up into Iraq, that there was one thing we were after, and that wasn't to save the Iraqi people. As we were driving up, fuel trucks were driving down into Kuwait, a long convoy line of those giant 18-wheeler sized civilian fuel trucks. After the count of 31, I stopped counting how many trucks were, and it just kept going on for hours. And of course, Iraq sits on one of the second most valuable store of petroleum on the planet. Thanks. Thank you. We have it now. Yet I dare to say that most readers in this book will be learning for the first time from the account that the museum looting story was almost entirely bogus. Like the whole invasion. I mean, what? And the media was guilty of more than just reporting unchecked information, that the rumored mongering that a falsehood into artifacts or scandal. I will also mention from my own experiences that as I was a nuclear, biological, chemical soldier, that we were also dispatched to go look at sites where Saddam could be holding weapons of mass destruction, and there was nothing there. We drove around at least 5. There was just broken rockets and just stuff that just was just like, why are we here? This has been picked over like 6 times already. And so we just got in our trucks and left. I understand why Carl is so in this book here now. He's so, like, bro, US military, which is, like, the guy was fighting along with them. There's saved his life probably multiple times too, when he wasn't supposed to be fighting with them. I don't know how that happened, but anyways, all the rules go out the freaking door when you're there anyways, because they're all taking care of each other. So that's why a lot of times he's very, very just like, yeah, I love the army, it's awesome. I do too. But there's also a lot of times where if something, I'm not gonna freaking sugarcoat the truth. I'm gonna tell you how it is. There's a story that is told from our news, and then there's all the non-recorded stories that actually happen. And a lot of it is due to inexperienced children with guns. Also, our rule is shoot first, ask questions later, which is sounds so cliche if you really, like you hear it everywhere, but that's truly it. It's it's what happens. That's why I always say it's children with guns. I was one of them too, a stupid 20-year-old with a semi-automatic rifle, shooting up stuff that anything that I thought that was bad, shoot at it. You know. The remarkable fact is that with the military phase of campaign approaching, it's close and next to phase of humanitarian relief about to kick into gear. No, no. In Kuwait, we were doing one of those where the guy who wrote, one of the commanders who wrote the rule book on the battle plan that we're going to do to push up into Iraq, he literally pulled us all into a gigantic tent and said that, you think that we're going to be going home in a month, do you? No, I'm going to tell you the real truth that we're going to push into these cities, we're going to destabilize everything, and then we're going to be here for at least 15 years trying to clean this shit up. So get comfortable. And this dude's like walking out and leaving us while like all of our sergeants are trying to like backpedal his words. There's no, I mean, like he doesn't mean that. I mean, like we're gonna go in there and do our job, and things are gonna get done so fast. They relied on racing speed, superior technology, yeah, uh-huh, and overflowing stamina and courage among the rank and file servicemen. God, man. Fly the American flag behind me. Holy shit, dude. Plus all those, all those great and wonderful statements made about liberty and justice. All that goes out the door when you're fighting, and it's just you and your group of guys wondering, should we shoot this person before they shoot us? Yes or no? All that like bullshit, like we are Americans fighting for America and we're doing this wonderful thing to save Iraq. All that goes out the freaking door. And you just become me against you. Who's going to shoot first? And how much? And re ammo, eat food, drink water, go and do it again. You know, so. Actually, there's a good scene in the movie Black Hawk Down where this kind of like special forces Delta guy person speaks on those same exact terms that I have been like saying, where it's just like all that all that crap that our news feeds us is meaningless. That's really, really dark. Sorry about that. Anyways, but it's the freaking truth, and you should all hear it, and you should all get. You'll, hopefully, you'll never have to see that. Oh, I've seen this picture before. So, well, Iraq was ruled by a dictator, and a recent current affairs in our political world and leadership have some disturbing similarities after me going to a country that is ruled by a dictator. And I don't know if I want to talk about this. Man. Because literally this new guy who's about to be in charge of us again is hiding his dictatorship in plain sight, and everybody isn't seeing it yet. For example, when you know who was doing his victory lap at the end of the polls during elections, where his little placard in the front of his little speaking podium says somebody will fix it, making the leader seem like there's this openly charismatic and warm and loving fatherly figure that will help you out, fix everything. and you won't have to worry about anything, which is kind of strange because the first words in our, I know that this has been oversaid way too much, but I'm going to say it anyways because I don't think anybody, because you just need to hear it, that the first words in our constitutional amendment, Declaration of Independence, we, we, us as in the people, are first and foremost beyond any individual. So it's really scary to see those words in display for everybody last night. It wasn't like we're gonna fix things or anything else. It was this. You know what? If you start to see his picture around like this in every public space or next to every American flag, it's a problem. Saying that it's a problem. And I really hope that you'll agree with me that it's a problem at that point. It's not gonna happen now. We'll see it in maybe a year. Yeah. It's gonna be scary. Out with the old and in with the new. Oh, if that was only true. A television appearance where he was asked how it felt to represent a country perceived by someone as Satan of a contemporary politics. Our Secretary of State elaborated this way. For example, Carl here is a super fanboy of America. It's great. I like that we have somebody like him who writes such wonderful stuff about our troops and America. I'm in love with them too, but sometimes I also like to, if I see a problem, I'm going to freaking speak up and I'm going to question everything, just like you should, Carl. And sometimes I just think that his moment with the troops on the ground floor in a war has really like made him like, bro, America, bro, you know? And it's, which, yeah, but soon that feeling fades off when you start to look around and you start to be like, huh, yeah, I had rose colored goggles on during that moment. I took them off. Holy shit. That's not good. Anyways, let's see this response. Far from being great Satan, which doesn't exist, so I'd be like, Satan doesn't exist. Next question, please. I would say that we are the great protector. We have sent men and women from armed forces of our United States to other parts of the world throughout the past century for our own agenda. I mean, to put down oppression in our own interests. Now, all in the interests of preserving the rights of people. Just as long as they act like Americans. We built our enemies up. We gave them democratic systems. Did we ask for any land? No. If you look at the strategic placements of our military bases and our air forces around all these countries that we have helped out, we have a really great staging areas for any place in the world. So we took a little bit of land. It may happen quickly or it may take a while, but in the end, Iraq will join the growing list of nations have been assimilated. Been assimilated to the iPhone and the McDonald's and the Tesla, the newest thing now, has been elevated by falling to the mercies of the United States. like Germany, Japan, Russia, Serbia, and now a work in progress Afghanistan. Funny joke. It is Iraq's fate to be defeated into prosperity by Americans. It's hilarious. That's a weird way to finish this book, man. Carl. Actually recognize Carl, so I at least saw him once. His very familiar face. So I mean, we were like, I was around the same battles that he was in, so it's just like, yeah, probably saw him around. Anyways, interesting book. Brought a lot of lots of good memories back. So I am happy to put an end to it and leave it behind and move on to see what's next. Maybe the next time that I'm in a combat situation, I'll be leading those children with guns. No, this way you shoot. This way, no. This way, not that way. This way. Keep going. I would gladly do it. Because, man, I was a dumb little 20-year-old shit myself, so doing the most stupidest stuff, and I wish I had somebody there to be like, hey, you, stop that. Get over here. Keep your freaking helmet on, too. Come on. We're gonna go find some food and water. Then we got a mission. Including sharing. Sharing all information if you're deployed. This is great advice for everybody. Share all the mission information from the highest leader position down to the lowest soldier. Keep everybody in the loop. My company had a hierarchy problem and they wanted to feel special and important, so they never shared. They just kept us in the quiet every mission. And I just had to like fumble through and figure it out. It was horrible. Anyways, yeah, share your information with everybody. Anyways, that's it for this book for now. I have 21 minutes left.